Chassidus on the Parshas Toldos. So today we're going to look at a piece from the Sfas Emes, and we're going to try to answer a question. The question is that we refer to Rivka as Rivka Imenu, Rivka our mother. And there are many women in the Tanakh who are great women, but they don't get that title added onto their name, the word Imenu. So why does Rivka get that added on? What makes her unique? So first, let's get a little bit of background. In this week's Parsha, we learn about the birth of her two sons, Yaakov and Esav. And the Torah tells us that Rivka loved Yaakov and Yitzchak loved Esav. Now, this seems very strange because we know that Esav, according to many rabbinical sources, was a wicked, evil man. So how could it be that Yitzchak, such a great prophet in and of himself, could not have seen this? I mean, was he blind to what his son was doing? Was he just so out of touch? What was going on that he didn't know that Yaakov deserved the blessings over Esav? So we have to remember that Rivka and Yitzchak, they were prophets. And in order to achieve prophecy, you have to be on an extremely high level. So when we read these stories, we have to try to find the wisdom of our ancestors. So the Sfas Emes goes with this idea that Yitzchak knew that Esav was not holding on the highest level. But keep in mind, Esav is still Yitzchak's son. And he saw how much Esav really wanted this blessing. I mean, Esav was not necessarily the best child. And people who may be struggling in their Judaism, and then they find something in Judaism that becomes special to them, it gives their parents such pride. So Yitzchak saw how much Esav really wanted this blessing. And he wanted to use this blessing, which mentions Hashem's name in it, as a vehicle to connect his son back to Judaism. And perhaps that it might be an impetus for Esav to come closer to Hashem. That is one aspect of the blessing that we have to keep in our minds for a second, according to the Sfas Emes. Now, there's two more aspects that we're going to focus on tonight. The second aspect is that we know that the greater a person is, the more strict that person gets treated by Hashem. Because Hashem, so to speak, expects more of them. And Yitzchak knew that Esav was not on the same level as Yaakov. And in fact, according to some opinions, Yitzchak was going to give both of them a blessing. It was just going to be a blessing, one tailored to Esav and one that would be tailored to Yaakov. And the one that was going to be tailored to Esav was going to be a more merciful blessing, because he knew that his son could not live according to din, according to the strict letters of the law, because Esav wasn't holding on that level. That's the second aspect we need to keep in mind. And the third aspect is that the blessing seems to be a very earthly blessing. It mentions that you'll be blessed with dew and the fatness of the land and grain and wine. And now, if we think about these three aspects, and we think about their connection with Yaakov, we are left with a very perplexing question, because the first aspect is that this blessing is a means of reconnecting with Hashem, implying that when somebody's far away from Hashem, they can use this blessing to sort of reach out and do teshuvah. But that wouldn't be necessarily for a person like Yaakov Avinu. Yaakov Avinu is on such a high level. That aspect is only shaykh, relevant to Esav. The second aspect is that we said that blessings are given according to the people who receive them. Well, why would Yaakov want Esav's blessing? Esav's blessing is made for somebody who's going to stumble many times. Yaakov's not going to stumble. He's like one of the greatest people of all time. That's like saying to somebody who's predicted to get a 36 on the ACT, well, I hope at least you get a 20 as a blessing. I mean, why would I even want that blessing? I'm so above that. And the third aspect that we mentioned is that blessing that Yitzchak gave Esav was based mainly on physical things, like the fatness of the land and dew and wine and grain. Why would Yaakov? He doesn't care about any of that. He's not a physical person. So we're left with this idea of why was it that Yaakov would even want to take these blessings? Why would he even dress up as Esav and go through the charade of trying to get these blessings from his father Yitzchak? They weren't even relevant to him. So the Sfas Emes teaches us a beautiful lesson about our matriarch Rivka. See, we call her Rivka Imenu. We don't call that to everybody else, because Rivka used Ruach HaKodesh. She had a type of holy vision. And she said to Yaakov, you need to get in there and take those blessings. And maybe Yaakov was like, why? I don't need any of those blessings. They're not tailored towards me. And Rivka said that might be true, but you can't only think about yourself. You're going to have children one day, and they're going to have children, and they're going to have children, and they're going to have children, to the point that we get to the people who live to today. And they're not going to be holding on the level that you're holding on. And so those three aspects that aren't relevant to you, it will be relevant to them. Oh yeah, absolutely. They will sometimes go far away from Hashem. Sometimes they'll be a little earthly, and sometimes they'll need a little bit of temperament. And so therefore, you need to go grab that blessing, not for yourself, but for your descendants. So Rivka Imenu, what makes her called Rivka Imenu is not because she was thinking about like herself or her own son. It's because she was thinking about you when she convinced her son to go and take those blessings. She was thinking about you in the future who lives today thousands of years later. And with that kind of foresight, that is how you get the title Rivka Imenu. So next time you're davening and you're saying the first blessing of Shemona Esrei, like Magen Avos, where we talk about the schus of our forefathers, have in mind Rivka. Have in mind our illustrious ancestors, and try to think about what they've done for us that allows us to stand here. All right, have a great Shabbos.